Hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. Well, this time round we are sort of featuring something that has been featured before, but we're featuring it to a much different level. It's this apparition here underneath the polythene, which I shall do the grand reveal of in a moment. And there's quite a story behind this, and it's been quite a journey as well to get it to where it is, but get it to where it is we have. So without further ado, I will, there we are. With a flourish that any king or queen smashing a bottle of champagne on a ship would be delighted with, here we have it. This is a Lamborghini V12 engine, car engine, but it's not just any Lamborghini V12 car engine. This is the engine out of the 6th ever production Lamborghini. So it's one of the oldest Lamborghini car engines in existence. And the others can be counted on one hand, surprisingly enough, saying this is number 6. So this is a 3.5 litre V12, and our customer, we restored the 6th ever Lamborghini for him, the 350 GT, and that was done some while ago. But this has been a job of work to get this to this stage. They made 123 350 GTs only, so these are an extremely rare thing anyway, and by consequence they made 123 350 production 350 GT engines. But this is very special because, as I say, it's the 6th ever. So they did build some engines for testing as proof of concept, but they are not production car engines. So why, I hear you ask, has the car left the building and the engine's still here? Which is a perfectly understandable question. In 1966, Lamborghini brought out a 4-litre version of this engine, 350 GT, 3.5 litre, 400 4-litre. And the 400 engine, Gianpaolo Dallara and Paolo Stanzani and Bob Wallace had time to develop the engine a bit more. The 350 engine was a great engine out of the blocks, and we'll come to that in a moment, but the 4-litre was a more developed, they had the luxury of a bit more time to develop it. This engine was initially, 1963, it was initially productionized. What had happened was, like a lot of 350 GTs, because the engine was a bit frail and because they'd got this lovely 4-litre version at the factory, what they did was, when 350 GTs went back to the factory for service or work or whatever, they would say to the customer, we've got this wonderful new 4-litre engine which gives you more power, not particularly focusing on the reliability improvement necessarily. Would you like us to fit it for you and replace your other engine? And a lot of customers said yes, because the cars were very light, really. And with a 4-litre V12 engine, they went like the wind. Ferrari was still using the 275 engine at that stage, 3.3 litre V12. So this was the 400 GT and the 300 GT in particular, with the 4-litre engine, because they were alloy bodied and were a bit lighter, most of them. Meant that it was a very fast car for its time. So that's exactly what happened with this car. It went to the factory and had a 4-litre engine supplanted instead of the 350. And it still had that engine when we restored the car. But the original 350 engine arrived as a bare casting, the block. Stamped number 106, as the 6th production car was. This was in the days when car engine numbers and car chassis numbers actually correlated. You could get one and the same for both. A lot of car manufacturers did that at the time, but it went out the window going towards the 1970s largely. We took the original block, and our customer put the gauntlet down, really. He said, well, we've got this bare block, can we turn it into a working engine? And we said, absolutely not, because all sorts of horrible things have happened to the block. That's why it hasn't been used for years, and you know, it's not safe. So he came back to us and said, actually, can you really try and get the engine working? So we did. Fortunately, my good friend and Lamborghini historian, Olivier Nemesh, managed to source a complete original 350 GT engine in Italy, bearing in mind they only made 123 of them, thank you very much, at the time, and they didn't make another run afterwards. That was it, because the 4 litre had arrived, no need to. So we managed to locate another 350 engine. That arrived. We've taken the infrastructure from that engine and reconditioned it. And we have also had some engineering magic done by some specialists on the cylinder block. So it's been heat treated, it's been line bored with the main bearing caps resized to make sure that they're flat. It's had a lot of work done on this, and some special new liners made. There's a lot of wear and tear happened with this engine, and the block has been through a lot. So it's a huge ask to turn it into a working engine again. But turn it into a working engine we have. And I'm delighted with the results. The customer is under strict instructions not to put this in a car and thrash it because the block is just not up to it. But as a piece of Lamborghini history, isn't it a thing of beauty? I just think it's wonderful. And Pete's been doing this job. He's meticulously made up a whole new throttle linkage for it. And it just looks absolutely wonderful. Works like that. And we've made the whole assembly, and it's just looking absolutely fabulous. I did go to a car event recently. I will keep this as vague as possible, where a German car manufacturer's iconic engine was on display and running. It was a running engine on a stand, and I was pretty shocked at the preparation of this engine, and it had come from the manufacturer in Germany. I thought, my goodness me, if this is a representation of what they're turning out, we're not doing so badly, because this actually, dare I say, it looks quite a lot more tidy and more considered. So Pete's made up these wiring looms, and we've reworked the cylinder heads. The 350 GT has got triple timing chains, the same as the Ferrari 250 GT that I mentioned a couple of videos ago, which almost fill that entire space there. The timing chains run up, 2 of them round the front of the engine. And on the 400, interestingly, they went back to duplex chains, 2 links. I believe the reason for that is because the weight of the chain, there's actually a trade-off between the weight of the train and the inertia when you rev the engine and stop it. The chain obviously is fighting against that. And maybe the weight of the chain overrides the extra advantages of the 3 links. Duplex chains are fine, actually. A lot of car manufacturers these days use single row chains, even the likes of Bentley and BMW and whoever else, and single row chains are not as hardy as duplex chains. Maybe that's for another video. This is still on its 3-row chains because it's a 350, and we've done that deliberately to keep the engine, the integrity and the artistry of the original engine. Interestingly, to go back again to the beginning, Giotto Bizzarini, who designed this engine, was approached by Ferruccio Lamborghini in late 1962, early 1963, to ask if he could design a V12 for him. And Giotto Bizzarini was part of the Palace Revolt, as it was called, in Ferrari in 1962, where I think 8 people walked out. Enzo Ferrari started being capricious or more capricious, and 8 of them left. And Giotto Bizzarini was one of them. And when this was in 1962, and when Ferruccio Lamborghini approached him for an engine design, boom, Giotto Bizzarini had an engine design up his sleeve. Now, I'm not going to get too contentious about this, but he had been working for Ferrari immediately beforehand. He had developed the 250 GTO with a single overhead cam V12. There was a Ferrari engine called the 290 with 4 camshafts, very similar to this, and Giotto Bizzarini had just left Ferrari when he was approached by Ferruccio Lamborghini. I shall say no more, but an interesting off-camera discussion to be had there. So anyway, we move on. The engine, he developed the engine. Ferruccio Lamborghini, he ended up having to sue Ferruccio Lamborghini because Ferruccio Lamborghini wouldn't pay the bill for him developing his engine. But that's again another story. That's recorded historically. Question is, we've put plenty of infrastructure in place. We've made throttle linkages specially. We've done all sorts of interesting stuff with this engine. Does it run? Well, let's find out.
Okay.
The moment of truth.
Yeah, okay, it's ready.
We're as ready as we'll ever be. Okay. Well, Pete, you've done an amazing job there. You really have. You should be very proud. I mean, this is a piece of car history, really.
It looks nice, doesn't it?
It does look nice.
It looks good.
You've had a bit of a battle royal with the carburettors, haven't you? Because these are the original, well, the carburettors from the 1950s or early 60s.
Yeah.
Worth a lot of money. But Weber didn't make them to last 60 years?
No, no. And they haven't quite lasted 60 years either, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, you've been battling leaks and things, haven't you?
Yeah. We've had a bit of a job on there, but they're all good now for what it is, which is going to be a rarely started static engine. You know?
Yes.
If it was going into a car, we'd have to be a bit more thorough with it.
Yes. Well, but there's a point when we actually can't go any further with. I mean, these carburettors are made of either Mazak or Zamak, which is pretty ghastly stuff. Actually.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
So that's the carburetors taken care of. We've obviously rigged everything else up, and the oil pressure is off the scale.
Yeah, it's
it's
got
up
good
to-
oil pressure.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because we had worries about the integrity of the block.
Yeah,
basically.
it looks healthy. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, congratulations. That's what an achievement to hear that running again.
Yeah. It's it started first time. You know, no issues.
Yeah, that carburettor's leaking, isn't it? a bit?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's spitting a bit of fuel out. So we need to have another little look at the flow valve in there. But apart from that, it's all good.
Yes, yeah, and we're not running it with the cooling system per se with a radiator because it won't be running for long enough to cause a problem.
No, that's right. So there's no thermostat in it. It's got waterless coolant in it, so no issues with expansion. But the thinking is it'll never run for long enough to get hot.
Of course.
It's only for display purposes.
Yes.
It'll start up, make a noise,
Yeah.
and shut down.
Hopefully the right noise.
Hopefully the right noise, yeah.
Yes. Don't mind exhaust, don't mind inlet. Anything else is a worry.
Yeah.
So this throttle linkage is a piece of art that you've made up here, including this, Ferrari-esque aluminium gear knob. So it doesn't open the throttles all the way, does it?
No. We did that purposely because there's no load on the engine and it revs up so quickly. We thought if we gave it the ability to have full throttle, it might be a bit too much. So basically we just experimented and designed it so that at full movement on this lever, it only gives you about a third of the throttle opening, which is more than adequate
plenty,
just
isn't
for
it?
starting it and running it.
Yes. So you've altered you've not altered, you've engineered the length of that so that
Yeah, we just experimented with a bit of light gauge aluminium first of all. It's easy to cut and drill till we got the right amount of leverage. And then once we were happy with it, yeah, we made a piece out of steel.
Isn't that marvellous?
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
It works well. It works
does.
well. Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic. Altogether, a beautiful job, Pete.
Yeah. Oh,
It really is.
Yeah, pleased with it. It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good. And it works.
Exactly.
Always a bonus.
Yes. Exactly. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Well, there we are. That concludes another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please remember to like and subscribe. It does help with the YouTube algorithm, and we'll be back with something else very soon.